with the heat and the breathing, it's like hyperventilating. So you start to go a bit lightheaded. Well, hello folks, welcome back to the plot. I don't need this anymore, it's really warm in the tunnel. Now today is chili pepper day. It's the chili pepper day. They're pretty much probably going to be the final harvest. Going to take off all the ripe stuff and then I'll see if it's worth leaving the green stuff or if it's time to start composting the plants. Now, believe it or not, yellow warning for rain today. It's meant to be chucking it down. I'm in full waterproofs because I was anticipating horrible weather, but I seem to have brought the sun out. And whenever I'm editing videos, I keep looking at this cherry tree and just how gorgeous those colours are. I do like this time of year. But for once, I think we can just get straight to work. There's not too much to talk about beforehand, so let's get harvesting. Now, unfortunately, I've lost a load of the bags. Have I? There's enough here probably. What I do like to do is make sure that I separate my different chili varieties, and this is really important if you're growing a lot of varieties, because some of them do look quite similar. For example, this one, the Kashmiri, which has done very well, there's still a lot of green pods on here. So this one, I'm going to take the red ones off and leave the green ones because they're going to have a chance. If there's just a handful of green ones, then the plant can go in the compost. But this Kashmiri, really happy with it. I've not actually tried these peppers yet. They're apparently best dried and powdered. So I've got some on the drying rack, but not enough to really make a scale up and make it into a powder just yet. So these ones will be getting dried and powdered. And as a plant, it's been incredibly healthy. And I think, yes, it's one of the ones in a 10-litre pot. And generally this year, as in many years before, the ones in the 10-litre pots haven't quite got to fruition. Apart from this is kind of the exception to the rule. Most of the ones that are in 10-litre pots just haven't properly hit their stride, properly done their fruiting, and given me an abundance of chili peppers, which is, at the end of the day, the main aim. So quite pleased with this one in comparison to a lot of the other 10-litre pots. This one is in a 7.5-litre pot. So generally, I was expecting much better things from this. This is my 7-pot bubblegum, and it's got 2 fruits on it. I'm not exaggerating when I say it's got 2 fruits. The aphids have really had a late season resurgence, so I think that might have impacted the plants a little bit. You know, they're a lot less healthier than they would be without them, and those aphids are probably taking away some of the plant's energy. Sugar Rush Peach at the back, looking pretty good. 7.5-litre pot, decent amount of fruit on there. Nothing. Absolutely nothing compared to the AutoPots, which you'll see later. I guess today might be a bit of an AutoPot review, really, as we're coming to the end of the season. The Burt chili plant, just a really wacky name. A massive plant there. I've got about 6 red fruit on and a few green. Not great. The, what are they called? The piri piri plants have done really well this year. Loads and loads of red fruit on there to harvest, and generally at the back I've got a load of Butcher Lokia, Dorset Naga, just rubbish, just not done it for me this year, absolutely dying back now. And yeah, I've also got the Pequeño at the back and the Golden Nugget, which were 2 I'm kind of glad I grew for novelty, but not worth harvesting the Pequeño for me. It takes so long, tiny little peppers, and the Golden Nugget just tastes foul. So I'm gonna get these harvested and we'll have a look how we're doing. Completely forgot to mention as well, if you want to see me in pain, make sure you stick around until the end of today's video, because I promised that if I got to 50 patrons this year, I would eat the hottest pepper. Now, I didn't quite get to 50, but my patron has been very successful, so I do feel like I owe you guys a little bit of seeing me in pain. And I'm not going to do a whole one, and I might not do my hottest pepper, but today I will definitely be, I promise you, something, an extremely stupidly hot pepper, and I'm not looking forward to it, to be honest. So, yeah, pretty crap to be honest. It's not brilliant. These are the Pequeño that I was just talking about. They are so small and so fiddly to harvest. It's much easier at the end of the year when you can just cut the plant down and rip them all off. But when you're worried about damaging the plant, It's not great. This one's mostly the rawit, and there's a couple of burt in there. Peri peri have never really been my favourite kind of pepper. The rawit is one of the peri peris. It takes quite a long time to ripen, in my experience. Fast growing plants, slow to ripen, and small pods. So I once again have that thing of just like, you know, I always harvest these a bit late because when there's a few on the plant and they're small, it just takes so much more time. The Kashmiri, now that is a proper harvest. Not perfect, not amazing, certainly, and there's still lots of green pods on here. Some of these ones aren't quite ripe. It never quite shows on camera, but a few of them are just a little pale. But I think for drying and that kind of thing, they should be okay, hopefully. And then a decent but not amazing sugar rush harvest. Now there is an amazing sugar rush harvest on the cards today, but that's next up. I've cut down now quite a few of the plants. You can see there's a small pile forming there. And I was just starting to think, because this is covered over. This is, if you've been watching Tony's videos, me and Tony have both decided to basically do the same thing in our tunnels. So this is all covered over, and I'm gonna have potted plants in here in some kind of self-watering system. I haven't decided exactly what yet. And I was planning on having kind of two in little kind of miniature rows like this. You know, two there and then two there, and you can kind of get in and deal with them. But these are quite small plants, and I'm hoping next year mine are going to be much, much bigger. So I'm going to have a think about whether having two next to each other is the right thing to do or not, especially if they're getting high and pushing up against the tunnel there. Not brilliant harvests in the tunnel, but these were sort of the extra plants as well. You know, I planted all these and somehow I thought they were going to fit in my greenhouse, which was never going to happen. So let's go to the greenhouse and see how the much better plants are doing. There's some very, very good ones in here. Now I've probably put AutoPot review in the title of this video, and it's going to be a general chili harvest, but how can I not talk about these AutoPots at the end of the season harvest? So I've got 4 in here. You can see down there, 4 15-litre pots. And look at the size of these plants. I think after I've harvested these, I might try and show you properly by pulling them out or something like that. But compare that to the ones over here, which are in kind of 7.5 litre pots. There's a few over here in 2.5, so they're not a good comparison. But on the floor, down here, we can start to see some of the ones that are in 10 litre pots, and they just don't compare. I'll have to pull these out and show you properly, but I mentioned there was going to be a proper sugar rush harvest. Look at all of this, and look at this. There's a Trinidad 7-pot brain strain. Oh, amazing. Let's get harvesting in here. There are so many plants in here. Very difficult to find a place for the camera, but we're gonna try. We're gonna try and show you how much there is to harvest in here. Oh God, I'm dropping them. Oh no, they're falling. Okay, so bloody hell, wow. Let's go in the polytunnel and talk about this because there's a lot to talk about. Okay, folks. Like, wow. I started kind of laughing about halfway through this harvest because it just started to become entirely preposterous to me. This is one Sugar Rush Long Peach plants harvest. Now, I have never, ever in my life harvested anything close to this off any chili pepper plant in 4 years of growing. That's the good news. That there is, unfortunately, one bit of bad news, and that is the taste isn't what I was expecting. Now, it's a little bit hot. This is one of my all-time favorite tasting peppers. And as the name suggests, when you bite into it, the Sugar Rush, normally the first thing that hits you. This tastes, to be frank, bland, kind of watery. And I ate about 5 of these as I was harvesting because I was worried maybe they just weren't quite ripe. Now it could be a dud plant, but what I want to do, find a good one, compare side by side with one grown just in compost. The AutoPot ones are hot as well. Like, definitely a bit hotter than I'm used to with these. In fact, you know, it's still a little bit off. So I'm wondering whether or not it's the AutoPot or whether or not it's the season, we've had a pretty tough season. The plants haven't been great, so it's kind of early days, but definitely let me know in the comments what you think. If you've ever tried this kind of thing. Seagulls are going crazy. I did have some comments earlier in the year from people saying that when they've used hydro nutrients or hydroponic growing, the taste hasn't been as strong as with compost. So very interesting, very interesting. That is a bloody incredible quantity though. One thing that's not so bad with the sugar rush, I do like to make a cooked sauce. These don't ferment too well. With the cooked sauce, I add a lot of things, ginger, onion, quite often some fruit as well. Peach or apple works really nice. And so if these are a little on the blander side, that's not so bad for when you're doing a cooked sauce with lots of other flavors. If you're just doing a pepper sauce, then it's a bit more of an issue. I'm gonna do, oh wow, that is much hotter than I was expecting. I'm gonna now go away. I need to find another big container and do a big harvest of the Trinidad 7-pot, and we'll see how that looks. All is not lost. There's no conclusive result just yet, okay? So these are my Korean peppers, and I've just been harvesting these. The harvest isn't nearly as impressive because I already had quite a good harvest of these hot peppers, but that is a full flavored pepper. There are no issues with taste on that one. It is an annum, so faster growing, maybe a bit thirstier, maybe slightly better suited to AutoPots. But I've got here one, which I think is the same. I did grow 2 varieties of Korean, so this might not be like for like, but this is from a compost pot. No, this one has dried out already on the plant. That is not tasty. Let me get another one. So I just got another one, and these Korean peppers are kind of designed for drying. So you can see how thin-walled this one is. And yeah, so nothing conclusive on the flavour just yet, but the fact is, this Korean pepper that was grown in the AutoPot does taste very nice. Right folks, so the weather has become absolutely dreary. It's a good day to be harvesting chilies. Puts a smile on your face, warms you up a little bit when you're snacking on them. It is just foul out here, but I've been busy for quite a long time. And I want to say the thing that I always say, which, wow, it really surprises me how long this takes. But finally, after 4 years of growing peppers, I'm starting to get used to how long you need to set aside for harvesting. I've been about 2.5 hours so far. It looks like it's getting dark, but it's only about 1:30. It's just, it does make it a little bit slower when I'm filming. It's all going fairly well. This is the Korean pepper. Now what's a bit of an issue that I've had is I've really wanted to show you how big the AutoPot plants are, but I physically can't because they're all kind of tangled up and it's really hard to actually pull them out. And so I did that with the smallest Korean pepper, which I hope is in the thumbnail, but it's been kind of butchered and cut back, and so has the sugar rush that you saw me harvesting earlier. And one thing I haven't mentioned as well, I've popped quite a few chili plants in here as well, just to make that little bit more space. And in here, the exciting one. Oh, yes, yes. My Kangstar Lemon Starburst is ripening. Yes, this is a chili that I've been trying to grow for years and years, had really bad luck. And it started off so sickly, this plant, and somehow I've managed to restore it back to life, and now it's finally growing. And you can see I've left it in a 2.5 litre pot to kind of force it, you know, to get root bound and go, okay, right, we need to set fruit now. This one up here, really interesting as well. This has been in little 5 litre pots, the hot chocolate. Loads and loads of fruit on here now, so I'm gonna harvest those in a bit. But inside the main greenhouse, it's all looking a little bit more free and clear, and look at this. This is the harvest of the 7-pot brain strains. Being brave without gloves. Just harvested an entire kind of 5 litre pot full there, and there's still quite a few on these plants. You can see a few down here that are just close to ripening, but not quite there yet. One other plant down here is one of my piri-piris. Let's get this out of the way. And you can see this is dramatically smaller, and that's because it went in a good kind of 6 weeks, I think, after the rest for various reasons, but there's still lots of fruit on there. I can't see much green. So I think what I'm probably going to do is just snip this off, take it outside, and then just strip the whole lot of peppers. Because I've got all that to do, and all the ones down here where, to be honest, there's not many ripe ones, but I'm going to be harvesting them anyway and kind of sorting them out. There's a few down there. It's going to keep me busy for a little while, so I'm going to have a little spot of lunch and a cup of tea, and then carry on harvesting, and then at the end I'll try one of these. A piece of one, anyway, a piece of one. One thing you should really know, if you're ever gonna eat a stupidly hot pepper, my pro tip, line your stomach first. I've got some cheese here. Basically anything that's fat, anything that's really fatty, bacon sandwich or like some sausage, something like that that's gonna line your stomach is, trust me, worth it, because the pain in the mouth is one thing, but as your body kind of thinks that you've eaten poison and it slowly moved through your tract, that is when you can really have some discomfort, and it can be horrendous kind of cramping and that kind of thing. If you're ever going to eat a super hot pepper, line your stomach first. Trust me. Got a little bit of my chili jam in here as well, which is a nice little warm-up for later. So the final harvests are in. It's maybe not the best way to present them, but I'll just go quickly through and show you. I've just got loads of bags. I must say, of all the ones that have just been in pots, this one, the Kashmiri, this is the one I'm happiest with. My champion peppers did pretty well as well, but this Kashmiri, that is a decent harvest. On a pretty bad year, you know, I would have liked double or triple that really, but compared to some of the others, that is a pretty good harvest, you know. That one is the Rawits, this one is the Sugar Rush. Now let's compare that with this. This one is from 2 plants, that one is from 1 plant, so the AutoPot's definitely winning on that one. Got a very small selection of super hots this year, which I guess is kind of good. I don't like to use too many of these in sauces, but there's a couple of bubblegum and 1 or 2 of these quite interesting kind of chocolate looking 7-pot primos, which are kind of similar to Carolina Reapers. So a few of there that I'm interested to try. One that has been really unsuccessful that I was excited about was the Trinity. Look at that, just 2 peppers, 2 plants. I had a small harvest, but that's kind of like a mid-heat habanero. A few more Buena Mulatas, some champions there. This one is the Korean pepper harvest from 2 or 3 plants. This is the one that I tried just now that really started to dry on a plant, and that's from 2 or 3 plants. That's from 1 of the AutoPot things, and that is kind of consistent with what I found with all the rest in terms of pod size. You know, look at the size of that pod. These, once again, really good sizes on these Sugar Rush pods. And then, oh God, here we go. These Trinidad 7-pot brain strain. I'm gonna pick a nice looking one. That looks good, doesn't it? Look at the size of them. You know, like these were actually kind of difficult to pick because I could only pick 2 or 3 at a time before they started falling out of my hands. But it's time, isn't it? Although, no, I can put it off for 1 second longer, because one thing I did quickly want to look at, this is my AutoPot Korean pepper. I just want to see what the root system is like in here, because I'm curious. Now something slightly, it surprised and slightly concerned me when I pulled this out of the little watering tray. It was flooded, you know, I lifted it up and the water was just seeping through. Now, maybe it's like that all the time, or maybe the valve had just recently activated, you know, like today, and that's why it was so wet. But from what I know about chili peppers and them liking a nice wet dry cycle, it's surprising how well the chili peppers have done in those AutoPot systems. It's really, really surprised me, and I'm intrigued to see what their roots look like. Generally, I'm going to be saving the spent compost from my chilies and using it to grow things in or top the beds, and this side of the tunnel is going to become a raised bed, so all of this goodness will go in there. Interesting. So these pots are fitted with a little kind of plastic tray at the bottom, and then a bit of matting that is designed to stop the roots coming out the bottom of the tray and getting all tangled up and that kind of thing, and that has worked really well. I must say, it doesn't look half as kind of root bound as I was expecting. I don't really know exactly what I was expecting, but I was kind of expecting along this edge you would see some really quite thick, mature roots. There's pockets of it here and there, but you can see the dense mat towards the bottom. So where this is kind of sat, and it's very wet now, you know, this soil is very wet now. It's one of the reasons I guess you put so much perlite in as a kind of drainage. But yeah, look at that root development along the bottom there. Interesting. I was just curious to see what it would be like, but it looks quite healthy. I can take my hat off again because I think it's about to get very warm in this polytunnel. I'm I've done enough avoiding it. It's time. Trinidad 7-pot brainstorm, almost definitely the hottest pepper that I've grown this year. This plant was in fact donated to me by a patron who came to visit, who lives locally. And my chili seedlings went off to the best start this year, so she kindly donated me, or maybe not so kindly donated me this one. So this one is for all of the patrons. Thank you so much for your ongoing, continued support. I'm always like, it feels like I'm running towards it. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna do it, it's gonna be great. And then it comes time to actually do it, and I pause. My stomach is going already. You don't know what this is like until you've tried it. Wish me luck. Oh, it's soft. Oh, it's really soft. Oh, Jesus Christ. That's immediate heat. I'm just eating one of my hottest peppers, Mike. Yep. The heat is pretty much immediate. I've only taken a bite out of that one. This one is a back of the throat. Real back of the throat explosion. Do you want to have a go, Mike? Oh my God. Oh, that is hot. Oh, that is very, very, very hot. Eyes are going. Oh, that is really hot. Oh. That is pain. That's like needles. Oh. I did bring some milk with me, and I'll be having that soon. Oh. Oh. It hasn't built too much, but it's not going away. Oh, wow. I'm warm. You have to be very careful not to touch your eyes. With the heat and the breathing, it's like hyperventilating. So you start to go a bit lightheaded. Ah. Oh, wow. Oh. I can think again for like a split second. And then you talk and it gets worse again. Oh, it's milk time. It's milk time. Oh my God. I'm in a world of pain, Mike. I've got a spectator. Oh.
Don't you go into shock?
Oh, it's hot.
I don't know anything worse than Saturday afternoon in the dark and gloom.
Ah.
Lots of chilies.
Oh, that's the stuff. Ooh.
Hot chili milk.
Yeah. Hot milk. Oh, wow. After a bit of milk, that is subsiding quite quickly. And that's because I only did maybe a quarter or a third of that pepper. That was a kind of a sharp pain that I've never really experienced with a pepper before. It's still going. It really does feel like needles, or like you've been cut. I'm just glad it's not the lips. Some peppers hit different parts. Oh. But wow, I'm gonna walk it off. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed quite an explosive ending to the pepper harvest. Let me know what you think about the AutoPot, and if you've tried any of those self-watering systems below in the comments. Thank you again to all of my patrons, and hopefully I'll see you again soon when I'm feeling a bit calmer. Oh my God.
What are you like?
It is hot. It's hot.
Which type were they then? The Naga ones? Caroline Reaper. Don't look at me.
It's hot. It's hotter. It's these ones.